Use it or lose it, part 2. What happens when we or a loved one loses it? Hallucinations can happen and are awful. The closest I came to hallucinating was from a nasty bout of food poisoning in my early 20s. Delirious, I faded in and out of reality all night after eating dessert at a Las Vegas hotel. Ugh. Too sick to even care or call for help. My survival was a surprise. This episode about losing it was a hard one, deeply personal. When my husband Richard suffered a right brain hemisphere stroke December 2019, normal life, was a new normal. Paralyzed on his left side, speech was slurred and choking a constant hazard. Time slowed to a crawl. He no longer talked about complex things like what soon happened in our COVID shutdown pandemic world. Stroke is a hard way to learn about the importance of our right brain hemisphere. Welcome to Truth Talk, Wisdom Walk with C.A. Curtis. I'm Carolyn. As part of our new normal, Richard suffered occasional hallucinations. They're more common with right brain deficits like stroke or from schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or drug use. Scary breaks from reality. One night, he believed he was stuck in a parking garage in the back of a pickup truck, and he begged for help. He was miserably cold, even in his hospital bed, covered with blankets. I could not convince him he was safe at home in bed until finally something worked. Lights on, my hands on both sides of his face, up close. Who am I, Richard? Who am I? Where are you? Where are you now? Somehow I broke through and it worked for him. And he saw me and where he was. Thank God. Some hallucination stories were best entered. If he wanted to dress for work or leave for an appointment, I could say we had hours to get ready. At times, he was happy to see children or adults in the room and asked who they were. Once he saw 12 people and 4 babies and said the teenage girl should do the laundry instead of me. Sweet. He saw his sister and later his mother, and he heard men singing like in the choirs he used to be in. A few times he said, "I'm losing my mind." He was content but happiest with friends, family, grandchildren, or great-grandchildren when they visited or his niece Mary called to cheer him up. His slightly crooked smile was priceless. Richard went from the vitality of an older athlete to paralysis and limitations. Yet, stroke never affected his gratitude or trust in God. On occasion, tender and profound words or his sense of humor would light up the moment. It was hard. I started a journal, gathering pearls of connection from the potentially stark landscape of caregiving. I missed deep conversations, yet his noble mind and spirit soared beyond his broken brain and body. He tired easily, and dreams filled his days. Once he dreamed about being a school principal and reflected. There were different things I could have done for a better outcome. That was deep. Self-reflection is right brain hemisphere deep. Doesn't happen in the left hemisphere. Many things affect the healing and rewiring of brain injuries, that our brains have neuroplasticity. The ability to rewire is extraordinary. But recovery depends on things like injury location, severity, age, health, treatment, and rehabilitation. Due to the location of Richard's stroke, his age, and continuing strokes, he lost ground in spite of our efforts. He thought I would go to heaven with him and seemed surprised when I said I had more work to do here. In episode 17, Grief Walk First Aid, I share what helped me be strong enough to care for him until he crossed into the light of eternity. And that was hard work. I had to exercise really, really hard. It is in sensing and understanding our own brain that we can keep in mind today, tomorrow, and going forward in which sphere we're operating. So this chart is a left brain complicated map of our complex human brain. It is a mere snapshot of brain operations. However, it is our right brain which comprehends reality and every living thing around and inside of us. We, you and I, are alive, embodied, and priceless. So let's look at the hemisphere chart again and think about what Dr. Arthur Brooke of Harvard says about what we choose to love and use. And that is the point, because the right hemisphere is all about the we, the embodied self and the us, while the left hemisphere is about the me, and it is just apprehending the world while the right hemisphere is comprehending. So, what are we going to do with that? What do we worship? What do we use? What do we love? Well, and this is key, critically important. With the right hemisphere, we worship God. We love others. And we use things. With the left hemisphere, we worship self. We love things and we use people. That's a big difference. Big difference to remember. So with the right hemisphere, it's about the awe and the wonder and operating in new territory. It's about complex. It is about the whole territory. Implicit, the flow, the loving, the caring, the sharing. It's about being humble and wise, discerning and forgiving. Right hemisphere is about relationships, what's real. It is about purpose and meaning. And it is about that operating in new territory with the complex, and relationships are complex. Because in our relationships, when we're face to face, close to someone, we're actually tuning in. We are resonating with them. We're understanding. Whereas with the left hemisphere, that is not happening. It's operating in the known territory, just what it knows, and it's all about complicated. And it's about things, not about people. It's about theory and the abstract and the words, like the word tree. Now, okay, this is a drawing of tree, so this is not a real tree, as you know. But this is about the real trees in our life. This is about the pictures of trees, the theories. And this is about the competitive. We need competitive and we need cooperative, working together. Competitive is a huge problem. You have to know. You have to know. Do you want to be competitive in your family? Really? You want to win all the time? You want to compete with your spouse over who the kids love? Is that going to be for a happy relationship? No. So this is about, competitive when you need to be competitive if you're in a sports match, but hey, you want your team to win. And it's about being cooperative with, like, you're cooperating even with the other team. You're following the rules, which are, again, left hemisphere. So we have that left hemisphere apprehending the me, the parts, the map, the detached self. The rigid, the grabbing, the using and controlling. And I'm not going over all the details I did in the first one. I'm just touching on these things. The left is about being proud, cynical, arrogant, and judging. Being able to judge, that's an important thing. But you want to judge wisely. And you only judge wisely when you're connecting over here, because this is where wisdom is. Wisdom is in the right hemisphere. Judgy is in the left. So we have the two needing to work together all the time. The right hemisphere, as you remember, is larger than the left hemisphere. The left hemisphere is designed for efficiency. It is about efficiency. The corpus callosum mediates between here with what goes back and forth, and it helps to kind of inhibit, to prevent interference between the two sides. That's not necessary. So this is really about design and function and efficiency. But your left hemisphere is designed for working with things. It's designed for the what and the how-to, while the right hemisphere is designed for the why. The why is really deep and wide. Why isn't just a word. Why is about all layers of why is something happening the way it's happening. It's about understanding and comprehending the entire surroundings. You gotta comprehend the entire surroundings, because remember, this is about, okay, how am I going to deal with if I'm safe or not in the environment while I'm trying to fix my dinner or eat my food or capture something to eat or whatever, or build something. You have to be constantly aware, and that's why both sides need to be working together all the time. That's why we have two sides to work together. So with the right hemisphere, remember, this is really about the recognizing faces, reading emotions, insight, being open. Here's where you have uncertainty. You're willing to take in new information. You have a theory set, but you've heard new information that gives you insight into your theory. You're willing to change your theory because you have new insight. That isn't necessarily what happens on the left side. Left brain can get a theory and get really stuck in it because it thinks it knows everything and it's lacking in the insight. Right hemisphere is about those gross motor actions, inhibiting behaviors. It is about mediating the social and emotional. This is why it's so key. It's about gratitude, morality, being creative, cares about the truth, cares about honesty, loves poetry, humor, irony, beauty, paradox, metaphor, complex music, not just jingles, complex music, the arts. The right hemisphere, because it's so realistic and sees things how they are, it can be somber, sad, and it can be depressed because it sees the sadness in the world and people who are wounded and hurting. I'm not talking about deep depression, which flips over then into the left brain hemisphere. So when you have, though, when you are looking at that left hemisphere, which is dealing with the linear thinking and the word processing and the syntax, we used to think that because the left hemisphere was so fast, that it was smarter. Wrong. We were so totally wrong on that. It's fast, but because it's so fast, it jumps to conclusions and can keep jumping to conclusions and really miss the target. So it's about that legalistic, a lot of certainty. The certainty is here in this left hemisphere. I think it's important to have certainties. I have a certainty. My certainty is that I'm not God. I did not create this cosmos or myself. That is my certainty. And I've taught my left hemisphere that is the certainty it needs to hold on to. It's about the fine motor action that activates behavior. Okay, think about this a minute. While this is activating behavior, the right hemisphere is inhibiting behavior. really important, inhibiting that gross motor action behavior. Left hemisphere is about power. It can be delusional, self-righteous, authoritarian, paranoid, tragically irrational, sets up idols for itself, can be angry. It's where disgust and that aggressive behavior is right there, because it can be so self-righteous. And I'll spend just a moment with the capture, that left brain capture that I most often saw in my practice. Left brain capture would have to do with the most common things that break up families, break up all relationships, are the zero-sum game. That's where you don't want your partner to win, like, you're playing football. Quarterback doesn't want the receiver to catch the ball. Really? So the interesting thing about this is all I'd have to do is explain this to a couple, and they would get it. And they would get it so that they're able to stop that behavior pretty fast. They actually catch themselves in action. Oh, wait a minute. I'm like trying to win an unwinnable thing here. And besides, if I do win, because I always have to be right, I might just have a really lonely life. The other thing that breaks up relationships is Gottman when he teaches us about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which I will deal with more in future episodes. 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. That's the 4 things. You have the criticism, which inspires defensiveness because they're reciprocal. Defensiveness inspires criticism, inspires defensiveness, and it just kind of goes back and forth. The antidote to that criticism and defensiveness is, with defensiveness, just own your part of it. It can be, I'm sorry I didn't make myself understood. Just own it. The criticism part, the antidote to criticism is, are you ready for this? Just learn how to make an appeal. Learn how to do a softened startup. Learn how to give a respectful complaint as if you were complaining to a total stranger. It's not like you'd come off just telling them they're stupid or something. No, you're just making a complaint. Hey, I'm sure you didn't mean to be stepping on my foot, but you are stepping on my foot, so that needs to stop, thank you. Whereas the antidote for the other 2, because, okay, you had criticism, defensiveness, and then you have contempt and stonewalling. Contempt, we recognize contempt instantly whenever anybody treats us with contempt. Contempt is the little lip raise and the eye roll that in a nanosecond you spot it. Contempt is so toxic that a person who's subjected to contempt, let's say if someone has heart failure, they're going to die. If a person with heart failure can live for 10 years like my mom did, she lived to 102, but we kept her happy. We made sure she had adventures all the time. You just don't ever treat anybody with contempt. The response, the normal response to contempt is to actually try to protect your heart and turn your body away from the person who's treating you with contempt. So what's the antidote? The antidote for that is to learn to self-calm. Take that deep breath, protect your heart, open to the person who's being contemptuous with curiosity about what their pain source is. That doesn't mean you let yourself be abused, but you be curious and you become strong enough to actually pause and listen. Meanwhile, guess what that person with contempt needs? The antidote to contempt is gratitude. Get off the throne. Just gratitude. Recognize that you built yourself a little throne, and that isn't a good place for you to live, because you can end up all by yourself on that throne. So how do these operate together? The right hemisphere brings in information from your entire surroundings, sends that over to the left hemisphere, the left brain, which deconstructs it, sorts it, categorizes it, sends it back, and the right brain reintegrates it, adds new information and new reality, sends it back. The left brain divides, sorts, breaks it down again, puts it in categories, finds uses for it, sends that information back to the right hemisphere, which again reintegrates it, adds enriched understanding and new realities, sends it back. That left hemisphere is already setting a theory, sorting and dividing, sends it back to the right hemisphere, which again reintegrates it, revitalizes it, adds wisdom, brings in new information, and sends it back. But what happens? What happens if the left hemisphere, that left brain, has already decided on a theory and set its mind on it? It may not accept any new information because it already knows everything. So it has this theory and it will fabricate, lie, reject what won't fit the theory, and it will double down. Double down when doubted. Really hard to get through. Sometimes to get through, well, first of all, the left brain needs to feel safe enough, maybe take a walk or something, before there'll be a calming to be willing to listen to any new information. Sometimes left brain will hear a story and be open with a story to considering things. But if you're in a debate with someone who's in left brain stuck, just ask them to describe their whole theory to you or something. They're not in a place that you're going to be able to get through. So be patient, because the problem, part of the big problem with that left brain is it sets up a throne for itself, can set up a fantasy, can end up dealing with expecting to be worshipped. This is where your cult leaders live. They just crown themselves and everybody has to worship them. This is a very bad place to be. This is where idols are. The right hemisphere keeps trying to break through and hopefully can. Oftentimes what happens in this, it just has to be like the letter of the law coming down really hard. Perhaps they can have time to contemplate while they're in prison or something. Because the right hemisphere will keep trying and hopefully will break through, because the right hemisphere actually respects the left hemisphere input and comprehends the fallacies and the pride and is willing to work to regain mastery over the left brain self. Whereas the left brain absolutely disregards the right hemisphere, doesn't respect the right hemisphere because it already knows everything. Both sides, we remember, deal with math, complex math, highly complex math, regular math, languages, complex languages, okay, reason, higher reasoning, science, higher science, but reason and science on both sides. So in the right hemisphere, you're more likely to have the theist, people who are theists, while the left hemisphere, more likely to have the atheist. So if you're talking to someone who's atheist stuck, you know what you're dealing with. Right hemisphere has to do with intuition and imagination. You can't even have science without imagination. Whereas the left hemisphere, its expertise is in fantasy. Just know which world you're living in. Are you living in fantasy land? Or do you just have a vivid imagination? like good authors do. They have an imagination to write wonderful stories. So, where do you live? How are you operating? How are you operating in new territory and known territory? Of course, I repeat, we're designed to use both hemispheres in cooperation all the time. However, If the right brain is underfunctioning, the left brain will take charge and dominate. And left brain is too narrow-minded for that job. We need both working together with the right brain in charge for life-giving transformation. Use your right brain and stay tuned for my poem on hemisphere harmony. Remember the warning signs when stuck in left brain capture, thinking we know all there is to know about something, anything, or everything, thinking our cell phone is more important than a child, any child, our child, trying to get our attention. How often have we done or seen that at the store or in a restaurant? Valuing stuff more than family and friends. Confiding in AI as if it was a friend. Living in cyberworld as if it was nature and family. Anger, arrogance, stubbornness, rigid black and white thinking. Left brain capture, flashes, warnings like a neon sign, danger ahead. Our family and friends try to rescue us or start avoiding us. This is something we must watch for in ourselves. I think it is urgent for us to train left brain to know left brain limits. Left brain must keep its place as an assistant, never boss, never God. What if we invite right brain deficits and left brain stubborn stuck by the fast non-foods we gobble up? Are most metabolic disorders caused by the sad standard American diet? What about lifestyle choices, that dopamine addiction of all kinds, lack of sleep, exercise, and absorbing plastic and toxins? Think again next time. Gooey donuts and soda, promise, happy. And what drove the food industry to replace real food with junk that even Europe has banned? Proving again, money and power can corrupt the well-intentioned and does corrupt further those in left brain stuck dark triad, because this is where dark triads live. My poem was a challenge because I flipped from right brain poetry to a left brain chart list and had to wrestle it back. Interesting to feel the shift in my head. Hemisphere harmony. Two hemispheres, when not worlds apart, show brain matters for mind and heart. Where lives wisdom to comprehend? Where lives focus to apprehend? Where lives compassion for us all? Where lives arrogance, which invites our fall? Who or what do we truly know, knowing not what rules our soul? Hemisphere as right must rule our left, lest pride drown peace and leave us bereft. Left brain's sum of parts ignores depth and breadth of loving hearts. Left knows it all, allowed to rule, crowns self as king and plays the fool, till nature demands we pay the dues for what we take just to use. Hemisphere harmony with right brain insight governs our path to walk in the light. Only an ancient metaphor, goats on the left, sheep on the right? Perhaps not. What about your hemisphere harmony? Which spheres govern your life? Start to pay attention. Notice where you're spending all your time. Are you stuck in left brain like many in our modern world? When left brain overfunctions and ignores right brain wisdom, we're stuck. There is an easy cure, and it's free. Just walk in nature. Make friends. Limit or turn off social media. Yeah, even podcasts. A friend who turned off all media for a month stopped feeling anxious within the first week. Try it. I am working on limiting media on Saturdays, just giving my brain a break. Usually, when the left brain hemisphere underfunctions due to damage or stroke or for whatever reason, the right brain hemisphere is able to take over most left brain functions and apprehend the world. By design, left brain does left brain things. It is important to know the right hemisphere is more vulnerable to metabolic disorders, possibly due to insulin resistance and inflammation, which reduce blood flow. Sugar damages mitochondria, so less sugar equals more energy for brain function. And I'll share more about programs and books that can help us toward the end of this episode. Back to brain theory. My brain chart was developed from many resources and studying Dr. Ian's right and left brain hemisphere hypothesis. And his website, I remind you, is channelmcgilchrist.com. Has extensive case study and research details. I appreciate Dr. Ian's scholarship, insight, and heart. His books are a treasure chest of medical research and philosophical considerations. Where we differ is my perhaps limited understanding of what he may believe about panentheism. This worldview can blur the distinction between creator and creation, as all is in a divine transcendent God, and God is in all things as we co-evolve. It's too easy to drift into left brain capture and worship ideas and idols of our own creation, instead of a creator above and beyond mortal limits. Is designer constrained to use man's evolutionary theory of how things happen or came into being? Does caterpillar consider the design or designer of its impending transformation into butterfly? And I am in so many ways caterpillar, looking forward to butterfly, but sometimes I can soar. Are we designed to follow the evidence and where it leads? I have long believed the right brain is about the spirit of the law, while the left brain is about the letter of the law and judges without mercy. And that fits what I've experienced in life and in my counseling practice as well as my understanding of brain research. And it appears that the letter of the law would kill us all in its fervor. We do well to heed Dr. Ian McGilchrist's warning on his homepage with an excerpt from A Revolution in Thought, how hemisphere theory helps us understand the meta-crises. Quote, I believe that we are engaged in committing suicide, intellectual suicide, moral suicide, and physical suicide. If there is anything as important as stopping us poisoning our seas and destroying our forests, it is stopping us poisoning our minds and destroying our souls. Now you know more of Richard's and my story. However, we are all embedded in a larger story which spans time and space. God's story. He loves you, and He loves me. He loves us. Knowing the love of God who designed us and promised to renew our minds with His Word, our Redeemer Jesus Christ, is not the same as a left brain knowing about anyone or thing. Hear Paul's words in Romans 12. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. He concludes, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Wisdom matters, and we matter, and our lives depend on Him. Kipling said, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, you'll be a man, my son, or a woman, my daughter, or an adult, my child. What else can we do to stay in our wise brain? Well, I promised some resources, so here they are. Hope for stroke and brain injuries from any source is documented by Dr. Norman Dodge in his books, The Brain That Changes Itself. It is one of the best books I've ever read. And The Brain's Way of Healing. The brain's neuroplastic ability to change and gain or regain cognitive and motor abilities is profound and unforgettable once you know about it. Going beyond symptom management to root causes, Harvard's Chris Palmer, MD, wrote Brain Energy. And it really is all about the energy that our brain has to function properly. And that's why the mitochondria are so important, because if the mitochondria are hurt because of too much sugar, they're not going to function right. And the most sensitive place we feel that is the dysfunction in that right hemisphere. So Dr. Palmer states, mental disorders are metabolic disorders of the brain. This new theory integrates decades of clinical, neuroscience, genetic, and metabolic research. It includes all of the biological, psychological, and social factors that we know play a role in mental illness, and it combines them into one unifying theory. Dr. Palmer offers clinical help and treatments. Also, there's metabolicmind.org. It's a great resource for more on keto therapy, which has reduced seizures for over 100 years. We know iron, folate, and B12 deficiencies affect mental health, while fish oil therapeutic dosages can decrease depression symptoms. Nutrition matters. You matter. Dr. Daniel Amen helps us see inside our skull with SPECT scans. My scan showed the right brain injury that I had in 2001, while Dr. Stephen Gundry looks at our mighty mitochondria and keto and our gut-brain connection. Modified keto with a lectin-free diet and therapeutic turmeric helped my body dissolve pseudotumors in 1 year. Yes, I had tumors behind both eyes. And I just determined, prayed, only ate keto, lectin-free, did turmeric, and literally, they were gone in a year. All references mentioned are listed on my YouTube channel, and I have included other sites for autism spectrum or neurodivergence, the Safe and Sound Protocol, which grew out of polyvagal theory, and PubMed for a study abstract on the AIRS sensory integration, and of course you have applied behavior analysis interventions. So there's a lot out there. Meanwhile, the differences in the male and female brain are still a hot topic. Before you judge one another, brain differences appear to be about reproduction and the survival of our children and our future as humans. Brilliant design. Encourage one another, love truth, be grateful, and do good. Until we meet again. And let me know what you think about hemisphere theory. And as a reminder, my episodes are for educational purposes. Blessings to you all.